bad posture. So we're going to work on those later. So again, another little picture of what neutral spine is. The picture on the left is a flattened spine. So that would be someone maybe sitting on their tailbone. And so kind of a slouched position, sitting down far into their seat. So you see those curves, the natural curves of the spine are now gone. It's more of a straight spine. The middle picture would be someone that's maybe sitting at the edge of their chair. And so that produces kind of a exaggerated lower back curvature, and also in the mid back where the shoulder blades are. So that's kind of a exaggerated curves of the spine. And so those two are not ideal. Those will cause a strain in different parts of your body. Again, the neutral spine is the good posture spine. So that's where you see that red line going down the body. This represents good alignment. So good alignment means that your ear, shoulder, hip, knee, ankle are all on that straight line, that imaginary line going down the side of your body. So if you are sitting, that line would be your ear, shoulder, and hip. If you're standing, then you're going to feel or have that line go down straight to your knee and ankle. So this is that neutral spine, the most comfortable, hopefully, position that your spine can be in. So we want to keep that in mind throughout this presentation. I'll be saying neutral spine a lot. So here is a little graph that shows us what positions we have the most amount of pressure on our discs. So again, the discs are those cushions between the bones that give us shock absorption. And so in the first number one, you can see when someone is lying flat on their back, that is the least amount of pressure, about 30 kilograms of pressure on the spine. When we are sitting, number 8, sitting in a chair with the elbows on the knees, so you can think of gamers when you're playing video games. This is the worst pressure on your spine. So not to say that you can't ever be in that position. Sometimes I do that kind of forward rounding and kind of push my shoulders back like a clamshell stretch in yoga. If you've done yoga before, you know what I mean. You kind of arch your back. And that gives you a little stretch between the shoulder blades. That's a good position that you can be in temporarily, but then you want to then straighten up again into that neutral spine. So now we go on to number 6. You see that's the perfect posture. That gives us the neutral spine, the least stress on the spine when you're sitting. But still, even when you're sitting, there's still a higher pressure on the spine versus standing, number 3, where the person has that neutral spine, nice, good alignment, good posture. So even if you sit straight, we still need to unload your spine by standing. So about every hour, we should be standing up. If you have the opportunity, that would be excellent. Even if it's just a minute, you get up to get water, come back, an hour later, go refill, or maybe it's potty time. So that's a good little, your body is giving you the signals, okay, I'm thirsty, go get water. An hour later, now I have to go to the bathroom. So even if it's just that 1 minute break, it's enough to unload your spine. If you have the opportunity to stand to do your work, that would be awesome, because of course you can see on the graph there, it's the least pressure that we can have on our spine, except for lying down, but we can't work when we're lying down. So standing would be really good for you. Here are some suggestions to sitting more comfortably, especially if you don't have a computer chair. I'm sitting on a dining room chair and it's kind of low. So I'm sitting on top of a pillow so that I'm not sitting too low. I also have a rolled towel on my back. So that's what this guy has, this white thing on the small of the back. I have a kitchen towel, roll it up like a burrito, You can put some rubber bands around it to keep it in place or keep it round, that shape you want. And then you place it on the small of your back. There, that feels good. So this is it's supportive to that lumbar curvature, but it also acts like a doorstop. So if you tend to kind of slouch and let your sternum down towards the floor, this thing will push you to sit up straight without you having to work so hard. So it unloads your back muscles that are keeping you in that upright position, which are working the hardest when we are sitting. So that this is a good break for those muscles. I also sometimes put it in the vertical position, right between my shoulder blades, and that really feels good to give me some room to squeeze my shoulder blades back. So it's just another way you can use a towel. The second picture, the person is sitting on a wedge. So if your back doesn't feel comfortable with just a flat surface, which is the chair, usually is just flat, then sitting on a pillow, like I'm doing, to just make my hips higher, or the way that he has his wedge is in kind of an angle, and that helps to change the angle of your back. So it's kind of like tipping your hips forward, and that increases the curve of your spine. So if that feels good, then you can sit on a pillow and have that same towel, fold it, and put that on your bottom. So then your bottom will be higher than your thighs, and will give you that little tip forward that might feel good to your back. The good thing about these little towels is that they're easy. You probably have some lying around, and you don't have to buy anything fancy. So the thing about purchasing things online is that it's sometimes a one size fit all, but it doesn't really fit all. So with this, sometimes you can shape it to your back. So I don't always roll my towel like a burrito. Sometimes I just leave it folded like this, and that's a good shape for my back. So you can also take it out for an hour, put it back on there if you feel like you need the support again. So it's very flexible, cheap. You already have it out around the house. So I like to use those pillows and towels to help me sit up straight.
Teresa, question for you really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned, I saw a kitchen towel. What about a larger like bath towel or a beach towel? With the size, does that matter?
It doesn't matter as long as it feels good. So if a regular towel is more helpful for you, then you can go ahead and use that. It should feel good. You know, if you roll it up too thick and you feel like there's something poking you on your back, then that's not the right size for you. So go to something smaller. Yeah. So it's versatile. You can play with it.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so another suggestion for unloading your spine. So the towel and pillow positioning, that's just so you can sit up a little bit more comfortably, sit up straighter. These are suggestions to unload your spine. So remember, sitting has the most pressure on our discs. So if you don't have the chance to get up, then the sitting down picture with the man pushing up, that's an option for you to unload your spine. So what he's doing is both feet are flat on the floor. It helps if you scoot forward just a little bit on your chair, so you're more closer to the edge of the chair. Then you put your hands on your armrests. Give it a little bit of a push up so your bottom is unloaded. Most of your weight is on your arms. Hold that for a count of 10 or so, and then bring yourself back down. You can repeat that as many times as you need to, so that your back feels a little bit less strained. The key is to not just to push up and have weight on your arms, but also let your back relax. So kind of let your bottom drop down to the floor, and that will give you the pressure relief. If you push yourself up, but then you arch, then you won't feel that relaxed position of your back. You will feel more tense. So make sure that you kind of let your lower back relax, let your bottom drop to the floor so you get that pressure relief. So that is one option to unload your spine. You can do it as many times as you need to, meaning repetitions all in one session or as many sessions during an hour as you need to. This is a feel-good kind of exercise. It doesn't really, I don't have a guideline of do 10 times an hour. It's just kind of what your back needs. The other picture on the left, the person is unloading their spine using a counter. So you can put your forearms on the counter, let your knees bend slightly. Most of your weight is going to be again on the arms. Let your bottom drop to the floor, let it relax. And that'll be the same idea as the pushing up on the armrest. You don't have to use a countertop. You can use the back of a chair. Or have your hands on your desk and do the same thing, kind of load your arms with your weight, let your knees bend, let your back relax. And it effectively does the same thing. You'll feel a little stretch in your lower back. So again, you can do it for a count of 10, stand up straight, do it a few more times if you feel like it's not quite relaxed yet. So these are just little suggestions to get some pressure off of your back. It's a good option when you're in meetings, when we're back into our real life again. If you can't stand up during your meeting, the armrest thing is really, really helpful. Now the nitty gritty, the ergonomics when we're sitting or standing. So like we said before, sitting is the most pressure on our spine. So if you have the option of standing, oops, sorry, doorbell. So if you have the option of doing work in the standing position, you can do that. Most of us, though, are probably going to be sitting because we all have, hopefully we have a table with some chairs that we can use. So I have, I have a laptop that I'm using because we share it with our department. It kind of goes around depending on the day of the week. So we want the laptop screen to be at eye level. So that's the picture on the, well, both pictures actually. So I have my laptop on a bunch of books, so it's at eye level. If you wear bifocals, you want the top of the screen to be more mustache level. And that's because usually bifocals, you read from the bottom of your glasses. So if your laptop is at eye level, you'll have to tip your head to read. And that's gonna cause the muscles in the back of your head to tighten, and that's what gives you headaches. So if you have bifocals, the screen will be more at nose level, and you're just looking directly at the screen without having to tip your head. You see the little tilt, 10 to 20 degrees of tilt for the screen. That helps eliminate glare. So the other thing about glare is if you have a window behind you, you're going to have glare on your screen. So try to be at a 90-degree angle to windows. And you know, if you can't do that, at least curtains that you can close to eliminate that glare, that will cause eye strain. And you know, of course, headaches. So we want to avoid that. The other thing about the screen is eye strain. It can cause eye strain if we're looking at the screen for a long time. So sometimes having not a wall behind your workstation, but a window or a room that you can look out into about 30 feet away or 10 feet away, sorry, 10 feet away, so that you can have a little bit of relief to your eyes. So that's the monitor. Now onto the keyboard and mouse. So your shoulder should be in that anatomical alignment, right? Your ear aligned with your shoulder. So your shoulders are back and the elbow is bent at 90 degrees. So that keeps strain from your shoulders. If your elbows are bent more than 90 degrees, we tend to ride those shoulders up and remember those upper trap muscles that give you tension. So we don't want to have those overactivated. So we want the elbows down at 90 degrees to prevent that shrug from happening. So with that 90-degree elbow bend, the keyboard should be accessible to you right there. Notice how the arm is at the trunk. So if you have your arms forward, you'll lose the 90 degrees, but also you'll kind of drive your body forward too. So that gives you the opportunity to put pressure on your wrists, which can give you carpal tunnel. So we shouldn't have any pressure on the wrists. I know that a lot of workstations have the cushion for your wrist to rest on. That's not ideal, because you'll have that, even if it's light pressure on this part of your wrist, that's what causes carpal tunnel. So essentially you want your wrists to be neutral, which means the pinky is in alignment with the side of your arm. So if you have a kind of a claw position when you're typing, that's a strain. Or if you have your wrist extended like this when you're typing because of that pad, again, strain on the wrist can lead to carpal tunnel or tendinitis. So neutral position of the wrist, pinky aligned to the wrist. And your hand, whatever hand you use for the mouse, the hand should be straight in line with your shoulder. So again, that'll keep you at the 90 degrees in the elbow, but it also will prevent a strain to your shoulder. So if your hand is, let's say your right hand is out to the right and you're mousing with your arm out to the right, you're gonna feel that on your shoulder. So the hand should be in front of the elbow. In terms of the type of keyboard and the type of mouse, I'll leave that up to you, because I've had the split keyboard, I've had the wider mouse. Wider mouse, it seems to fit me better. It doesn't cause a strain to my fingers and my wrist. But there's so many different kinds of or brands also of mouse and keyboards. I'll kind of leave that up to your comfort. Just keep in mind that we want the wrist to be in neutral, to not too much of extension or flexion when you're typing or using the mouse. Now let's move to, yeah.
That's no, I think that's great. So I think you're gonna continue kind of talking then about maybe our non-ideal workstations going forward. And just as you're talking about that, one of the questions that came in was working with a laptop and only having a laptop, not having like how does that work if with either the monitor being too high and then the keyboard being too high, or being low and then kind of looking down at that. I think you're going to kind of mention that in a little bit when you move forward. So just if you could get to that. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. So if you don't have a separate keyboard and mouse to attach to the laptop, then I would put the laptop on a table, because that will prevent you from leaning forward and having that forward position. So ideally, we would have stacked books under your laptop and a separate keyboard and mouse to keep that neutral position of your wrist and shoulders. But if you can't do that, I would still set yourself up as if you are on a desktop. So at least the laptop on a table and close to you, so you're not overreaching. So the monitor should be at least arm's length away. Well, at most. Usually you need it that close to type, so you can't let yourself, have it too far away, especially with the laptop. So if you are doing work sitting on a couch, that's going to lend you to have that improper posture. You're going to tend to lean forward and kind of round your back. Same thing with working on a bed. I really don't recommend working on your bed on the laptop, because that interrupts later on your sleeping cycle. Your brain will think, okay, it's time to work, instead of it's time to wind down and get ready for bed. So if you don't have a table to put your laptop on, at least don't work on your bed. The couch is second best. So as far as your chair, we talked about the position of your hips and your back, using the pillows as cushions and to adjust the angle of your hips. So you can play with that with whatever chair you sit on. If you are sitting on the couch, they tend to be kind of deep, so you might need an actual pillow, not a rolled towel for your back, for back support, and your feet should be flat on the floor to avoid strain in your knees. If you have kind of that crisscross applesauce position when you're sitting on the couch, if you haven't noticed it yet, you probably will feel like your legs go numb and tingly. There's a artery, vein, and nerve right behind your knee. So if you have that knee bent position for a long time in that crisscross leg position, you're going to get numbness and tingling. You're going to cut blood flow to your legs. So avoid having that position. Have your feet flat on the floor, even if you're sitting on the couch. And the same goes with if you're sitting on a chair, a dining room chair. The space between the back of your knee and the chair should be enough so that it doesn't pinch those nerves, that nerve and those arteries. So at least I would say a fist width between the knee and the chair. So the same kind of goes for if you're standing on your workstation. The upper body should be about the same. The only thing to remember is that we're keeping that neutral spine and good alignment, so the ear, shoulder, hip, knee, ankle, all are on that same straight line. Okay, so everything else on the upper body is the same. Any other questions about that?
We have not had any other questions come in at this point. As you kind of continue on and people are listening, if they want to type in anything to the chat, okay. I will be sure to voice those questions to you.
Perfect. Okay, so here is a little tool that you can use to help yourself with all those little details. Even if you don't have a chair, computer chair or workstation chair at home, it still applies to your dining room table chairs. So it goes from the chair to the computer screen, even a headset or phone if you use a phone. So if you score a 5 or higher on each section, then it's time to change that position. So it's a immediate change, because you could have an injury if you keep the same. So for example, the section on the chair, A, you would go from left to right as if you're reading. And so if your knees are bent at 90 degrees, you have a point of 1. If they're not, if you have no foot contact on the ground, you would give yourself a point of 3. So you go through A, B, C, D, and if you have a score of 5 or higher, try to make a change. Okay, so this is a resource down here you can follow to get the study if you wanted to learn a little more, but just the pictures are, I think, self-explanatory, so you can make the changes that are appropriate for your workstation.
Great. So got a couple questions since you prompted that. So one that we have here is it bad to have a footrest for your feet? Sometimes it feels better to elevate my feet and legs.
Mm-hmm. I'd say that's okay. That's a good little break. As long as your feet are on a surface, so they shouldn't be dangling. There are footrests that angle your feet kind of in a little position like this, where your toes are more up, which is a better position than if your feet are dangling down. So that's okay.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. And then on here, it looks like we have something asking about stretching and exercises, which I know we will get to. So go ahead and continue on.
Stay tuned. Almost there. So this is just my workstation. You can see my pillow behind my chair. I have the towel rolled there when I'm sitting on there. I tried sitting on this picture on the left on an exercise ball, but it just sat me down too far. So then I had to really bend my elbows to reach my keyboard. So it didn't work out, but it might for you if you don't have a chair that's comfortable. You could use a exercise ball, and that challenges your core to stay on the ball. So it's kind of an exercise in itself, just sitting there. And you can see my stack of books that keep my laptop at eye level. Of course, I'm lucky enough to have a separate keyboard and mouse. Even if it's not my ideal mouse, my hands are way too big for that. But as long as I'm stretching throughout the day, I don't feel it in my hands. So this is just an example of my makeshift workstation. Briefly, phones are our friend, but are also our enemy. That's another strain that we can produce to our spine. The picture, the person on the left, this is someone that is in that neutral spine position, good posture, just the weight of the head with no bend forward of the head. We have a 10 to 12 pound pressure on the neck and upper back. So as you can see going to the right, the person looking down at a 60-degree angle of the neck, bending forward, there's 60 pounds of pressure on the neck and the upper back. So if we keep that position for 5 minutes, maybe you don't feel it very much, but then you get into that Netflix show and you're there for 30 minutes, an hour, however long. When you get out of that flexion position of your head, it's going to be hard to get straight again. So we're trying to minimize that stress on the upper back and neck. Keep your phone at eye level. Take frequent breaks from it. Your hand needs it as well. One of the stretches we go through will help with that as well. So try not to look down at your phone, even if it's just for a minute or two. Every repetition that you do, that's a repetitive strain. So keep everything eye level, including tablets and a book if you read. Now to the exercises.
All right, before we get to the exercises,
Yes.
I do want to just, we had a couple of suggestions or kind of home remedies as you were showing your pictures. We had a couple of people say that they like to put kind of books down on the ground to help with the footrest. Their table is too high, so that way they can kind of adjust that. So, or boxes. So it looks like people have different kind of methods and things around the house. You've mentioned towels, books, different kind of things where you don't necessarily have to go out and purchase things, but there are options as well to purchase things. But you are able to do it with household items, it looks like, that people are.
Yeah, exactly. Get creative. What I tell people is if it feels good, do it. Your body's telling you this is a good position, so make that a regular thing. And you know, if something that I suggested doesn't feel quite right, like the rolled towel, that's just not for you. It's okay. You don't have to use it.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Yeah. So now for the exercises, the first exercises are stretches. So that means you're going to feel a pull in your muscle. It should feel comfortable to hold it for 30 seconds. And we should be able to repeat it at least 3 times. Muscles are like rubber bands. And if you've experienced a rubber band, you know that when you pull it, it stretches. When you let go, it comes back. So because of that reason, we have to stretch it for a long time and multiple times a day. So it actually keeps its length. So the picture here, the man standing, he's in a corner, arms at either side of the corner, one leg forward, lean forward on that leg. You will feel a stretch in your pecs, which are the muscles that tighten up, they contract when we have this forward hunched position. So you should feel a stretch along the front of your chest to your shoulders, and even a little bit of pressure stretch on your upper back between the shoulder blades. The further you go into the corner, the bigger the stretch. So be careful, be nice, don't let anything hurt. Again, 30-second hold. So if you're feeling numbness, tingling in your hands when you're in that position, you are in too far. So back up a little bit. You can rest 10 seconds, repeat it another couple times. And that can be your 1-minute break every hour that you can do. The second picture, the man is stretching that tension muscle, the upper traps, the ones that make your shoulders right up. So we're trying to get that muscle to relax. So you can see the man is pushing the shoulder down, just actively with the muscles of your body. Push your shoulders down as you tip your head into the opposite direction. And you'll feel the stretch along the back of your head all the way down to the tip of your shoulder. You'll feel it if it's tight, you will feel that stretch. And again, it should be comfortable enough to hold for your 30 seconds. As you can see, you can do this in the sitting position, but since I want you to move and get up, unload your spine, if you have the opportunity to stand for this stretch, then go ahead and do that. And then you can repeat doing the same thing on the opposite side. Don't force anything. You might feel that one side is tighter than the other, so just let it go naturally what it lets you do without pain. So I wouldn't pull. There's a lot of pictures out there that have people pull on their head to increase the stretch. That will put too much strain on the joints of your neck. So just let the heavy bowling ball, it's already 10 to 12 pounds, just let that do the stretch for you. Next group is for the lower extremities, so your thighs. You can see the person on the left, he's standing in sort of a lunge position. The leg behind you is where you'll feel the stretch in the front part of your hip, in the groin area. You can hold on to your chair for balance if you need a little help with your balance. The arm is getting a stretch for the wrist because, again, of all the typing, the mousing. So his hand, it looks a little contorted, but you're basically going to have the stop in the name of love position, and then you turn your palm so that your fingers are facing down to the floor. And then you give it a little pull. So you feel the stretch on the underside of your forearm, and you hold that gently, not trying to avoid numbness, tingling in that area. And you hold it for about 30 seconds, do your 3 reps of that. The picture on the left or on the right shows a hamstring and calf stretch. So she's using a step. You don't have to use a step. You can just set your foot in that kind of angled up position, and then lean your hips, push your hips back. That will reproduce a stretch in your hamstring, the back of your thigh, in the calf. Try to keep your spine straight. As you can see, she's not rounding her back. It's nice and straight and aligned, and that will keep you from getting a pull or a pain in your lower back. So those are your lower extremity stretches. The strengthening, with these, the squats, which you see on the left, the depth or how much you bend your knee during the squat, it all depends on you. It shouldn't hurt your knees. It should feel like you're working and getting tired on the top part of your thigh and also on your glutes. So you can hold on to a counter or the back of your chair for support, just for balance. And feet should be at shoulder width apart. When you squat down, you're pretending like you're going to sit in a chair behind you. So you're kind of pushing your hips back as you lower your body down. Don't let your knees come together. If you're getting a knock-kneed position, that's going to strain your knees. If you don't drive your hips back and your knees are going forward, that's another strain to the knee. So try to keep that hips behind, knees behind the toes as you're squatting down. And the range of repetitions recommended, it's big because everyone's strength is going to be different. So if you can do 10 shallow squats and just one set of that, if you feel fine 2 hours later, then that 10 repetitions maybe is enough for you. It didn't cause any pain. It's not causing you to be sore. So that's a good level to start at. So 3 times a day with these 2 exercises. So you're just spreading it out through the entire day. You can also just do 3 sets of 10 all at once, but because if you're new to this exercise, I would spread it out through the day so you're not super sore the next. The second picture, the person is activating those middle and lower muscles, the ones that like to be lazy, because we have this forward position. So again, the stop position of your arms, and then don't let your shoulders right up. So first, drop the shoulders, and then squeeze your shoulder blades together. You can hold that 5-10 seconds, and then release. And repeat. Of course, standing, you can do this exercise in the standing position. I'd rather you do it standing, but you can also do it when you're sitting. Once we get back into the commuting world, you can do this at every red light just to get those muscles to wake up and keep you upright. So those are a good sitting or standing exercise for you. And that is it. That's it for exercise stuff. I have some resources here. The first is the kind of generic physical therapy website that shows some of these exercises, some of these pictures, and also more information and links to common musculoskeletal injuries like knee pain, shoulder pain, so you can help yourself with those resources. And some other resources that were emailed to us on our Kaiser email. Planet Fitness is offering home workout programs, so you can check those out for yourself if you want to work out from home. Those are some resources too. And then my references.
Great, yeah. So let's see here, kind of looking through the chat, it looks like you're providing some really good resources that people can kind of look at themselves. When you were talking about the exercises, again, something that I heard was just being nice to your body, and taking care of your body, not pushing too hard, but making sure that you are kind of getting those nice stretches. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. Nothing should hurt when you're doing an exercise. It should be at most challenging. So for the squats, you should feel maybe a little bit of a burn in your thighs or in your glutes as you get into the 10, 11th rep, but it shouldn't cause any pain that lasts longer than a minute or two after you're done with the exercise. That goes with all of these.
Okay, yeah, good thing to think about. I had kind of a comment question on here about talking about degenerative disc in the neck area and like having constant migraines. Again, I know we are kind of being a little bit, we're broad obviously, but anything that kind of any help with that you might be able to offer?
Motion is lotion, basically, with that kind of stuff. What that diagnosis basically means is you can have some stiffness in the neck area. The diagnosis doesn't necessarily mean that that's always going to be an issue. When you get stiff, when the muscles are tight, there's an imbalance in the muscle strength and muscle tightness. That's when we get symptoms. So for example, that upper trap, if that is really tight, it can cause headaches, pain in the back of the head that radiates to the forehead and side of the head. So even just stretching out that muscle, if you have relief with that, then it was more of a muscle tension that was causing your symptoms rather than the osteoarthritis, which doesn't change. You know, we can't change that, but we can change the muscle length. And also we can change your mobility, you know, doing some of these stretches, just moving your neck, you know, doing rotations and side bends as you work, that can keep it moving. So that motion is lotion thing. So you don't get stiff from just sustained prolonged position. That's what causes most issues.
All right, great. Yeah. And if anyone has any other questions, we have a couple more minutes. We'll let you type those in. But I do, Teresa, would you mind going to the resource page one more time, just so that way we can kind of look at that. We will be posting this video on the Pacific website, or the Pacific Alumni website. So pacificalumni.org/Tigers Together. That whole page has past past presentations that we've done, past webinars, as well as things that you can do during this time while we are kind of all at home, kind of figuring out what to do with that. So if you want to check out these resources, this video again, pacificalumni.org /Tigers Together is a great resource to find everything we talked about today. You'll be able to see that presentation. Also, we do have another presentation for Pacific alumni that you can join this Thursday night. It's one of our Cocktails and Conversations event. So, you know, grab a drink. It doesn't matter what's in the cup. If you want to bring water, that's great. And we're just going to be talking about some of the good things that are happening during this time, this Thursday. So, you know, taking care of your body is the theme of this event, and then also taking care of your mind this Thursday. So we're just going to wait to see if there's any more questions coming in, and just go do that. So this, and we will get this to get posted up kind of within the next week. I'm seeing lots of thank yous for Teresa. So thank you so much for doing this, Teresa. We definitely appreciate it. It's always awesome to see what our Pacific alumni, our fellow Tigers, all the skills and talents that they have, and being able to give back to each other. You know, Tigers Together, especially in this time, but always. Yeah, exactly what I needed. Thank you so much. It was helpful. And again, we will be posting this next week, early next week on the website. So that way you'll be able to listen to Teresa. We'll also post some of those resources on there as well. So you'll be able to link to those. With that, I want to say thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you. We definitely appreciate your help. It's very awesome. I know I have some tips. I'm going to go find some books and make sure that my space is all set up correct. So,
yeah. All right. Thank you for joining, everyone. Have a good week. Safe week.
Thank you.